I'm Scott Packard, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Wright Tree Service.
And I'm Will Nutter, President and Chief Operating Officer. As you know, safety is one of Wright Tree Service's core values.
But it's important to know that it's our number one value. As a company, we approach safety as a value rather than a priority. Priorities can change over time, but values are constant. Safety is something that has been and will continue to be at the heart of our company. No matter your role, safety should be your focus at all times.
At Wright Tree Service, we take pride in the fact that our employees make a commitment to being a brothers and sisters keeper. Brothers Keeper is about creating an environment that encourages employees to speak up when they witness unsafe behavior or action. This means that you look out for your fellow coworkers and follow the training provided to you. If you do this, all injuries are preventable. We'd like to welcome the leaders from our Mountain States Division who will kick off this training video and guide you through the best safety practices you should follow when on a job site.
There are three main hazards you will encounter on the job site. They are direct or indirect contact with electric power lines and other energized conductors, falling while climbing or working on the ground, and falling trees and branches. In this video, we will focus on falling while working aloft and working on the ground. There are several things you need to do to avoid falling. First, conduct a pre-job survey which will help you identify the types of hazards that might occur while on the job site. You should plan your entire ascent, descent, and work positioning, whether in a bucket or climbing, ahead of time. While on the ground, it's important to always be aware of your surroundings and look where you are walking. Keep an eye out for tree stumps, rocks, vines, steep inclines, and other walking hazards. Prior to working in a bucket or climbing, inspect your equipment before each job to ensure its proper working condition. While in a bucket, always wear a properly adjusted harness and anchored lanyard. While climbing, proper tools and equipment include arborist saddle, climbing line, and work positioning lanyard.
Your main takeaways from this video should be to maintain proper tie-in at all times, proper footing, and 3 points of contact anytime you enter or exit a piece of equipment or vehicle, and follow the training provided. If you follow these points and observe all working rules, you and your coworkers will go home safe.
First, we'll discuss the job briefing in more detail. Before starting any job, you must assess the job site. This is done in conjunction with the job briefing, which is a process where you and all crew members review elements of the job site, including all hazards associated with the job, work procedures involved, special precautions, and PPE requirements. At the time of the job briefing, this is when you must establish emergency procedures. Identify the nearest location that has cellular reception and verify that every worker knows the location or address of the worksite in case they need to summon emergency services to the site. Also verify that the location is listed on the job briefing. Another major consideration before starting any job is assessing your equipment, which includes your general use PPE, along with your climbing gear and fall protection equipment, which must be inspected before each use.
It's also required to perform a daily bucket pre-flight inspection, which ensures that any issues are found before the equipment is used. Some issues that might occur include oil leaks, loose nuts and bolts, drifting, and whether the bucket is functioning properly.
Proper equipment and equipment inspection is vital to ensuring your safety on the job site. Wright Tree Service will identify and provide each employee with properly fitting PPE and equipment you need to perform your job duties safely. It is our policy that you are not authorized to bring equipment from home to use on the job site, and you are not authorized to take equipment home with you.
Only use provided equipment for its intended use, especially life support PPE, which includes climbing lines, safety lanyards, arbor saddles, full body harnesses, and others. You should only use your climb line for climbing, not to rig or pull a tree over. You should also visually inspect all equipment to verify that it's in safe working condition. Remove damaged, defective, or worn equipment from service immediately, especially in regard to life support gear.
It's important to understand and respect the dynamics of any given climbing or rigging scenario. For example, a 200-pound climber dropping 18 inches can generate an excess of 800 pounds of force, and thereby compromising key components in the climbing system, in addition to severely injuring the climber. This is why thorough inspection before each use and overall proper care and maintenance of your equipment is so crucial.
Maintain 3 points of contact when entering, exiting, or transitioning from equipment. It's important to be cautious, as complacency often sets in during these actions. Because the headache rack is slick and could result in a fall, maintain contact with the bucket or upper boom as much as possible until you can transition into the bucket or you have exited the headache rack. It's vital to stay tethered and have your lanyard secured to the anchor point.
There are various exposures, techniques, and considerations while working on the ground, on a ladder, climbing a tree, and in a bucket. While working on the ground, you have several responsibilities, which might include dragging brush or hose, spraying herbicides, and working around equipment such as mowers and boom-mounted saws.
There are several types of hazards that could occur while performing these tasks. It's important to always be aware of your surroundings. Look out for obstacles in your path that could cause you to slip, trip, or fall, such as weather-related elements and terrain issues like impressions, holes, or debris on the ground.
Another common practice when pruning trees is using a ladder. Fiberglass ladders issued by Wright Tree Service are considered non-conductive. Always inspect your ladder prior to each use. It's vital that all crews ensure ladders are well maintained and don't have missing or broken parts. If you find a damaged ladder, remove it from operation, tag it as out of service, then report it to your GF. Prior to using a ladder, make sure it is of sufficient weight capacity and suitable for the individual using it. Before ascending a ladder, ensure that it is secured with a climbing line to avoid slipping or that a coworker is holding the ladder. Work should only begin once you've verified that the climber and the ladder are secured.
When ladders are used on the job site, their primary use is to get the climber closer to the work. Another time a ladder is used is to transition from the ladder to the tree to conserve a climber's energy.
Wright Tree Service challenged our employees to come up with an acronym or slogan that would help our climbers remember the tools and equipment needed before climbing a tree. We opened the contest up to all employees across the United States and received dozens of worthy entries. The winning entry is the acronym SALUTE, which stands for Safety, Attitude, Landing, Uniform, Time, and Equipment. As a company, we salute safety.
Climbing in order to prune a tree is another common practice that requires careful consideration. If you have any question on climbing safety, talk to your immediate supervisor. Workers who are approved to climb trees for Wright Tree Service are employees who must be trained on climbing techniques. Whenever appropriate, climbing spurs can be used. However, gaps are not to be considered a point of attachment.
There are two approved climbing methods at Wright Tree Service. The first approved climbing method is called the double rope technique, also known as a dynamic system. The second approved climbing method is called the single rope technique or static rope work positioning. This is a newly approved climbing technique and specialized training is required before its use. Using this technique must be authorized by your division manager. You must load test the system integrity prior to climbing.
There are 3 instances when the load test must be performed. Once on the ground before you begin climbing, anytime that you've repositioned the tie-in position in the tree, and whenever you have unsecured and resecured your lanyard. Always make sure you have enough rope to reach the ground when descending. As a precaution, a stopper knot, also known as a figure 8, must be placed 1 foot from the end of the tail to prevent the tail end of the rope from passing through the climber's hitch. There are various hazards that can occur while climbing and using these climbing methods, which can result in falling. The improper use of chainsaws, handsaws, and pruners can result in cutting your climb line or lanyard. You must be 200% tied in while trimming aloft with a chainsaw or handsaw. Uncontrolled swings can occur from lost footing. A loop runner can be used for more stable positioning. Climbing at angles greater than 45 degrees should be avoided because it creates slack, which can result in an uncontrolled swing. The use of a redirect, either natural or mechanical, is recommended. If your friction hitch isn't grabbing positively and immediately, you have the possibility of falling. If the limb breaks or the equipment fails, You also have the possibility of falling in this instance. And a whole tree can fail.
To avoid damage to your climb line, make sure it doesn't come into contact with loaded rigging lines or the limbs while being lowered to the ground. Before the limb or log is lowered, anticipate the path the rigging system will take and where the climb line will be relative to it, to ensure they don't interfere with each other. This means never allowing rope-on-rope interaction and never allowing a rigging line to become entangled in the life support system. The only way to do this is to think and plan ahead before each cut and leave yourself an out. Remember, you are ultimately the person most responsible for your own safety.
While working in a bucket, it's important to ensure that you're properly secured. Maintain minimum approach distance with your body, your conductive equipment, and all portions of the aerial device. Avoid having your back to the power lines whenever possible. Always use fall protection equipment while in a bucket. Do not exceed mechanical limits of the equipment.
It's very important to position and park the truck itself so that the vehicle doesn't tip over, which could result in falling while in the bucket. To ensure the safety of you and others, the aerial device must be maintained and properly set up and used in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Make sure to follow the placard and decals on the equipment as well as the owner's manual.
The approved work methods will show the lift and bucket grade limits. Do not abuse the limits of the aerial device. For example, the aerial device is not intended to be used as a crane to lift or hoist tree parts or material unless the equipment is specifically designed for that purpose.
To review, the main takeaways from this video should be to maintain proper tie-in at all times, proper footing, 3 points of contact anytime you enter or exit a piece of equipment or vehicle, and follow the training provided. If you follow these points and observe all working rules, you and your coworkers will go home safe.
Thank you for your time, attention, and dedication to our strong safety culture here at Wright Tree Service. We encourage you to share this video with your family, both at Wright Tree Service and at home.
Keep focused and be your brothers and sisters keeper at all times. Remember, at Wright Tree Service, safety is always our highest value.
Stay safe.
Be your brother's keeper.
Stay safe.
Be your brother's keeper.
Mantente seguro.
Protege a tus hermanos.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.